What if a man who ruled an empire decided he was not just above the law, but above God? What if that same man tried to force his people to worship him like a deity, and even declared war on the divine itself? That's not fiction, that's history. This is the story of Caligula, the Roman emperor who went from being loved by the people to feared by them all. He didn't just rule Rome, he tried to rewrite the rules of reality. In this video, we'll dive into how a young, promising leader became one of the most infamous tyrants in history. We'll explore the madness, the myths, and the real reasons behind Caligula's descent into what some call insanity. Or was it just power unchecked? Gaius Julius Caesar Augustus Germanicus, better known as Caligula, was born in 12 AD in Antium, modern-day Anzio, Italy. His nickname, Caligula, literally means little soldier's boot, which he got from hanging around the military camps with his father, Germanicus, a beloved Roman general. Imagine being raised by soldiers, watching your dad be celebrated like a hero, and then seeing him die under mysterious circumstances. That's exactly what happened to young Caligula. His father died suddenly in 19 AD, and rumors swirled that he was poisoned, possibly by political rivals in Rome. So there you have it. Trauma, fame, and conspiracy, all before his teenage years. Not exactly a normal childhood. After Germanicus's death, Caligula moved to Capri to live with his great-grandfather, the reclusive and increasingly paranoid Emperor Tiberius. Now, Tiberius wasn't exactly Mr. Rogers. He was known for executing senators, torturing enemies, and spending his final years hiding away from the world. Living under Tiberius was like surviving in a psychological horror movie. And guess what? Caligula survived it. Some historians believe that this environment warped his mind. Others think he learned how to play the game of power, how to survive, manipulate, and eventually dominate. Either way, when Tiberius died in 37 AD, Caligula was named co-heir with his cousin Gemellus. But surprise, surprise, Gemellus was quickly executed, and Caligula became emperor at the age of 24. At first, things looked promising. Caligula cancelled unfair taxes, gave bonuses to soldiers, and promised reforms. The Senate loved him. The people adored him. Even ancient sources say he was charming, intelligent, and physically attractive. But something changed, fast. Within a year, reports began to surface of erratic behavior, bizarre decrees, and extreme cruelty. So what caused this sudden shift? Some say it was illness. Ancient historian Suetonius wrote that Caligula fell seriously ill early in his reign, and the fever left him mentally unstable. Others argue that the sheer amount of unchecked power corrupted him completely. Or maybe both. Let's take a look at some of the most shocking things Caligula did during his short reign, from 37 to 41 AD. Declared himself a living god. Yes, really. Caligula demanded to be worshipped as a divine figure. He ordered temples built in his honor and had statues of himself placed in Jewish synagogues, which caused massive outrage. Made his horse a senator. Caligula supposedly appointed his favorite horse Incitatus as consul. While this might be exaggerated, it shows how absurdly powerful he thought he was. Forced senators to grovel. He made high-ranking officials perform degrading acts, including licking his boots and acting as servants during banquets. Killed for fun. According to ancient sources, Caligula would invite people to dinner only to have them executed afterward. He reportedly enjoyed watching executions and even participated in them personally. Built insane architectural projects. He commissioned 2 floating bridges across the Bay of Naples, one of them over a mile long, just to prove he could. Why? because he wanted to show he was more powerful than the sea gods. Was this madness, or was it calculated terror? One of the most controversial moments in Caligula's reign came when he tried to install a statue of himself inside the Jewish temple in Jerusalem. This was not just offensive, it was blasphemous. Jews believed only God should be worshipped in the temple, and the idea of a human image there was unthinkable. The governor of Judea refused to carry out the order, fearing rebellion. Caligula threatened to invade if they didn't comply. It was only after his death that the crisis was avoided. This wasn't just politics, this was a declaration of war against religion itself. Caligula didn't just want to rule men, he wanted to replace the gods. Caligula was married multiple times and had several sisters. One of the darkest rumors about him is that he engaged in incest with his sisters, Agrippina, Drusilla, and Livilla. These accusations come mostly from Suetonius and Cassius Dio, so they may be exaggerated or politically motivated. Still, Caligula openly showed favoritism toward his sisters, especially Drusilla, whom he called his partner in life. When she died, he declared a period of mourning across the empire and even considered naming her heir. His relationships were twisted, dramatic, and full of betrayal. Sounds like a Netflix drama, but with real bloodshed. By the time Caligula reached his 4th year as emperor, he'd alienated nearly everyone. The Senate hated him, the Praetorian Guard feared him, and the people were tired of his madness. A conspiracy formed within his own inner circle. Members of the Praetorian Guard, led by Cassius Chaerea, plotted his assassination. On January 24th, 41 AD, Caligula was stabbed to death in a public corridor while leaving a theatre. His wife and daughter were also killed. The guards dragged his body to a pit, threw it in, and covered it with dirt. No royal burial, no last rites, just a brutal end to a brutal reign. And just like that, the man who declared himself a god was treated like trash. Now, here's the big question. Was Caligula truly insane, or was he just another product of absolute power? Because let's be honest, Rome had plenty of bad emperors before and after him, but none of them are remembered quite like Caligula. Why? Well, part of it comes down to the sources we have. Most of our information about Caligula comes from Suetonius and Cassius Dio, both writing decades after his death. Their accounts are filled with scandal, exaggeration, and moral judgment. Could it be that Caligula was simply a victim of propaganda? Think about it. He challenged the traditional role of the Senate. He mocked religious traditions. He centralized power in ways that made elites feel threatened. And in return, they painted him as a monster. It's possible that Caligula wasn't as crazy as history claims. Maybe he was just too bold, too unapologetic, and too willing to break the rules. But does that make him evil? Or just dangerous? To understand Caligula, we need to look at the bigger picture of Roman politics and culture. First, remember that Roman emperors weren't supposed to act like dictators, at least not officially. They were called princeps, meaning first citizen. But in practice, they held immense power. Caligula didn't hide his power, he flaunted it. He crossed lines that other emperors respected. For example, while Augustus and Tiberius kept up appearances of humility and tradition, Caligula openly mocked those norms. He dressed as gods like Neptune and Apollo. He walked around wearing purple robes meant only for Jupiter. He even said, "Remember, I have the right to do anything I please to anybody." That kind of arrogance doesn't win friends in the Senate. Also, consider the context of his time. Rome was still transitioning from republic to empire. There were many factions pushing back against imperial rule. Caligula's enemies used his erratic behavior as proof that emperors couldn't be trusted. In that sense, Caligula became a cautionary tale, a symbol of what happens when power isn't checked. So what was the turning point? When did Caligula go from golden boy to monster? Many point to the moment he started demanding divine worship. That's when he stopped pretending to be just another ruler and declared himself superior to the gods themselves. When he stopped pretending to be just another ruler and declared himself superior to the gods themselves. When he ordered the statue of himself to be placed in the Jewish temple, he didn't just offend one group, he threatened the entire religious balance of the empire. That act alone almost sparked a massive rebellion, and yet Caligula didn't care. He believed he was untouchable, until he wasn't. His assassination wasn't just revenge, it was a message. To every future emperor, don't forget who holds the real power. Not the throne, not the gods, but the men with swords. So where does that leave us? Caligula was a complex figure. He started strong, ended horribly, and left behind a legacy of horror stories. Whether he was truly mad or just dangerously ambitious is still debated by historians today. But one thing is certain, Caligula challenged the very idea of limits. He broke every rule of leadership, morality, and religion, and paid the ultimate price. He ruled for just 4 years, but his name lives on as a synonym for tyranny. That's the power of a short, wild reign. If you enjoy these videos, hit the like and subscribe buttons, turn on notifications, and never miss another journey into history's strangest corners.